Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new segment called Finance with Anthony. So today we're going to be looking at questions across three different types of channels. The first one is the Ask Accounting. The second one is the Personal Finance, and the third one will be the Ask Finance sub channel. So all of these channels will have different styles of questions that I'll be addressing weekly. And yeah, let's dive right into some questions here now on the Personal Finance channel. So the first question is advice for new credit card use.
Hello, a little preface. I was raised in a family with horrid financial knowledge and responsibility. I'm very good at managing my finances, but now it's time to be smart with my finances. I got my first credit card about 3 months ago, but I don't think I'm doing it right. But anytime I Google questions, I get mixed answers. Basically, any advice from y'all on how to raise my credit and have a really healthy credit card experience would be appreciated. Currently, I'm using my credit card for everyday purchases. Someone told me to basically treat it as my debit card, then I have it on autopay to pay off the full statement balance. I think I'm going to take it off autopay. I'm very responsible and remember to pay it. I just wanted to be able to pay off the whole balance instead of just statement balance. Is this a good idea? Also, I'm using about 50 to 70% of my available credit each month. Is that good? Bad? So confused and no answers. And any help and advice is appreciated. Thank you.
So this is a great question. So I would say the first thing you need to realize when you actually get a credit card is that there is actually a rule that you don't want to really go over the 20% mark on your credit. So usually you want to stay at around the 3 to 5% mark on your credit if you can. So I know when you're starting off with your credit card, you're probably going to have like a lower credit limit, and you probably would not you probably would want to actually, spend. It's a great feeling, to be honest, when you have your first credit card, because the first thing you want to do is just spend like crazy. But my advice is, if you can, keep your balance as low as possible, and of course pay it off in full every month. So that is going to help you start building up your credit little by little, because it's going to show how responsible you are. Now, in terms of like paying the full balance versus the statement balance, in most cases, if you can pay off the full balance, you should, just so you kind of have that feeling of like, wow, I don't have anything, I don't have anything open. Or every month you can opt to actually pay the statement balance, and that's fine. In most cases, paying off the statement balance is a-okay, as long as you didn't go crazy and spend like crazy, the next month. So yeah, usually the rule of thumb is to usually spend as little as possible on your credit card, usually 3 to 5%, because that just shows, because the more you spend and the higher your percentages, it actually is seen as more risky to creditors. So this is my advice to you. Now moving on to the next question, how to raise credit score. I'm a 20-year-old female with no debt. I'm trying to save up for a car and trying to reduce my monthly payment for it as much as I can. My credit score is 682, which isn't the worst, but I'd like it to be better. The main fact I've heard is to pay your bills on time, which I do, and more so set up to autopay with no issue to pay for them. Is this enough to raise the score? Is my age the reason my credit score is lower than I like? I only have one credit card with my bank. Should I be using my credit card for more payments? 2 pieces of advice I've gotten is to only use a credit card to pay for gas. My mom told me to pay it off to zero the second you use it. I've done this for about a year now with little change to my score. I'm looking for other tips and tricks I can incorporate to raise my score. Buying a car isn't time pressing for me at the moment. I'm merely trying to prepare myself for when the day does come, and I'm as ready as I can be. So yeah, there's no one formula to raise your credit score, but there is a multitude of things that you can do. The first thing is, of course, that you have a credit card, which is great. So that's one type of credit that you have. The next thing that actually impacts your credit score is the age of your credits. So essentially, like how old your one of your oldest credits is. So the longer you have credit, the more the higher your score will be. Timely payments also impact your score, making sure that you pay your credit card off on time. You don't really need to, as soon as you swipe your card, pay the credit card like right away. But usually it's advised, by the first 3 days after your statement closing, you should be paying it off, to make sure you have timely payments on your account. You can also put it on autopay just in case you feel like you're not sure if you're gonna pay it on time. The other thing that would raise your credit score is the types of credit that you have. So in most cases, like a credit card is great. That's usually one of the first steps you get. Another thing that could raise your credit is effectively getting different types of credit. So this include like a personal loan, maybe signing up for like maybe a phone plan. Sometimes they have to check your credit for that. Paying your rent on time, that's another thing they usually check your credit score for. So usually all of these different types of streams that you have of credit streams will also show your creditor that you're responsible with multiple different types of credit. And last but not least, another good thing to start building your credit is basically the size of your credit. So essentially, how much of a credit do you take out? So in essence, let's say you have a credit card that's like $1,000, but then the next thing you do is you take out like maybe a loan for like $3,000, $4,000, to depending on what you're looking for. So yeah, so essentially, like, I'm not saying to take out a loan like right away, but that's another aspect that creditors do look at. Essentially, like, what variations of loans have you taken out throughout your life, and how large is your credit? So essentially, like, it's good to actually build up your balance, make sure that your credit card, you're increasing your limit as frequently as you can, building up a higher credit. So essentially, you need to be able to prove that you can handle larger credit balances, and that will effectively increase your credit score.
Hello, everyone. My name is Anthony, and I'm the host of TheLostSanctuary. I hope you've been enjoying our content so far, and if you have, please feel free to like and subscribe. Also, we have our website up here, and we also have some socials down here. And as always, leave your comments down below.
Hold on to cash or pay down mortgage.
For the last few years, I have been aggressively paying down my home mortgage. If I continue at this rate, I would have it paid off in 2 years. Looking forward, I have some uncertainty about whether or not I will have to move houses in the next few years. I started diverting extra house funds from my mortgage to another account to start saving for a down payment on my next home. If I decide to stay put, I figure I could pay off the mortgage with a lump sum if I moved. I would be able to have the option to hold on to my current residence as a rental. I'm comfortable with the amounts that I have been saved for retirement and have no other debts. Throwing extra money in my mortgage has been my way of preventing lifestyle creep and keeping myself eating rice and beans. Several times now, I have almost spent some of this extra money. The strategy does not work if I spend it. I don't really like the idea of locking it up in CDs or bonds. Any advice on how to protect it for myself?
So, in most cases, usually the rule of thumb is you have 3 to 6 months of budgeting for your emergency fund. In your case, if you have that already, that's great. The next aspect that you should be thinking about is like, hey, what is one of your assets that's probably like creeping up on you, and that's your mortgage. So that's one of your asset as well as your loan, probably your biggest loan. So my advice is, as someone who's more risk averse, is to actually like pay it off as quickly as possible. You never know, especially during times like this where you might, God forbid, it can happen. You might lose your job. So yeah, so if you have it paid off, it's usually better because it makes it a lot easier for you to once you have it paid off, then you don't have to worry about, God forbid, if you lose your job, because the expenses then will be a lot more minimal. You only have to pay property taxes. You'll have to only pay like utilities, maybe insurance. So it becomes a lot more feasible when you have it paid off than when you have a mortgage as well, if you lose your job, God forbid. And the other aspect of it is that I did like to see is that you did think about like maybe renting it, which is also an important thing where you could consider. That's usually how people build up their how they actually build up their value of their home. So essentially, sometimes you don't even need to sell off your home. What you could do is essentially refi your home after you've paid it off, and then use that loan to buy another house and then rent it to just pay off the loan, which is a very common strategy that many people do to actually like not only keep their home, continue to pay itself, but also you have a new home that you can actually start just paying off yourself. But overall, I would say definitely think about your next strategy, whether you want to move into a single family home, maybe move into like a duplex, maybe like a 2-family home or a multi-family home, and that could even help you even more, because rent is a very powerful tool you can use on top of your income. Alrighty, so let's move on to the next question. 21-year-old, somewhat fresh into investing, looking for advice.
Howdy peeps, I'm 21 and just looking for some advice or seeing what others are doing, essentially making sure I'm on the right path. Our current financial stake, 10K in savings, 10K emergency fund, extra cash in checking, 1900 IRA, still looking for other good shares to hold, 2800 in crypto, makes a small and large cap, small student debt, 1 year left on truck payment, $300 a month, live by myself, make 70K a year. If anyone takes this as bragging, please don't ask, that is not my intention. Just wonder if anyone has any advice. I eventually want to get into real estate, duplex, something along those lines to start. Open to any and all Chris. Thank you guys. Have a good day.
So your investing strategy there's no one size fits all for investing. That's what I will say. Some people tend to rely more on real estate investing. Some people prefer like going through like a Roth IRA, which is great because then usually most of the proceeds or the gains from there are tax exempt. Some people like to invest in stocks. So there's no really one size fits all, to be honest, and many investments, as you will soon realize, actually are very risky in nature. It all depends on like what you truly enjoy investing in. So if you truly enjoy investing in stocks and researching the different kinds of stocks and companies that are out there, that could be the tool where you want to go. Some people prefer to invest in real estate, which is something I personally like to do. And yeah, and the way I usually do that is I tend to like make sure that I have, of course, my 3 to 6 months of savings, my emergency fund, and then I build a separate fund called my real estate fund, and I start to just put it away. So I put it away. I start putting away after-tax dollars into an account, usually like a savings account, and I put it away for for a couple of months, usually 6 to 12 months of savings. In some cases, depending on your strain, you might need to do a little bit more. But until I reach the point where I have usually 15 to 20% of the of the down payment, and you're probably gonna need an extra 5 or 10% on top of that for additional closing costs. So essentially, you need to build your nest egg for a real estate fund, and then you can use that for a down payment. But of course, it takes time. It's not something that sometimes happens overnight. So just being diligent and making sure that you're making the right decisions of saving when you need to is probably the most important thing. Alrighty, so that is going to conclude episode 1 of Finance with Anthony. Alrighty, so I hope everyone has a blessed day, and adios. Keep doing what you're doing. You're doing an amazing job, and I'm wishing everyone out there all the best. Alright, until next time, adios.